called my best friend Larry and said, grab some beer, grab some thoughts, and get over here for a podcast. We're gonna have a podcast, yeah.
All right, as always, that was me, Colin Gawel, with the podcast theme song. I unfortunately, when I negotiated my deal, I did it for trash stickers, but the program was discontinued soon after that. But that's okay. So I'm going to be your guest host today on the very special 50th episode of Won't You Be Our Neighbor. And sitting next to me, my co-guest host is Kip Greenhill. Tell the folks about yourself, Kip.
Well, I've served on city council for 8 years, and there's a lot of people in Upper Arlington that have been upset with me because I was involved in the hiring of these two.
Yes, I've heard it down at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
A lot of grumbling.
So,
Well, that's why I went through a recall, actually. That was one of the driving forces. So
I remember that. It was
Had HR decisions.
a lot of drama in town.
so thank you both for coming in today and joining us on what is a very special, very momentous
Historic.
occasion. Historic. The 50th episode of the Won't You Be Our Neighbor podcast. So I'm Steve Shoney. I'm the city manager here at the City of Upper Arlington. I am here with my
Co-guest. Or guest today.
What do you, but can you, you're still kind of the
still sidekick. You're even in guest status. I get sidekick.
You're my sidekick guest.
As always, I'm Darren Schulman, and we should give shout out to this episode. This is a producer Maggie production.
Yes.
We don't have any idea what's going on.
We don't.
We just knew it was 50th. We got guest hosts. We showed up in the sweaters because it's still nominally our podcast.
We had a debate about whether to wear the sweater.
Steve didn't want to, and I did because I paid for it. I didn't. You paid for it. We paid for it. Got to wear them. But we don't know what's going to happen. Maggie's been setting stuff up, giggling behind the scenes. So I also did not know there would be like video during this episode. So I played basketball this afternoon. I'm just a mess. So sorry for having to look at me in advance. If you're watching this.
Yeah.
Would that have really changed anything?
No, I actually went to the sink and like threw some water through my hair because it was totally basketball teased out. So
Okay.
sorry about that. Edit that out, Maggie.
All right.
Work it in.
We're recording.
The magic of editing.
I'm going to say this a little bit loudly so that hopefully it picks up. Now, as our guest hosts, we got for you guys sweater vests.
Oh,
Because
Beautiful.
As guest hosts, there's two reasons for this. It's a sweater vest.
I mean, it is summer.
It is summer, and it's, sun's out, guns out. I know you guys both hit the gym. You want
absolutely.
to show it. And you're just guest hosts, so you don't get sleeves.
That's fine.
When you get promoted to full time,
If you get promoted to full time, we'll get you something with sleeves.
It's kind of like filling in on Johnny Carson. It's kind of a big deal.
It is kind of a big
guest
deal.
host because
So-
you're kind of in line now.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
So there is a high degree of responsibility that comes with those.
see what it is, Colin. They were too cheap to buy anything with sleeves.
probably some truth to that as well.
Might have been.
Probably. I'm sure the city has a gigantic lost and found at the pools. You gotta get rid of this stuff
If
somehow.
you are the 9-year-old who lost his cardigan, we have it here.
You're the 9-year-old who lost his sweater
Yeah,
vest.
this one's got Dippin' Dots on it. I don't know what's spilled.
They are the ice cream of the future.
I did check with both of your better halves on sizing, although Katie didn't get back to me in time.
so we have no idea if yours is going to fit.
So I don't know
Yeah.
if yours is going to fit, and if yours doesn't fit, blame Aaron.
I like our chance. I think sweater vests, as a general rule, probably sizes aren't that important.
No,
right?
I think
it's more the vibe.
well, that's that might have been some of the logic too. Not that I overthought this at all. That it wasn't like we had to worry about sleeve length if we didn't have sleeves.
No, this is good. I like this. This is the first sweater vest I've ever put on in my life, which is
Well,
crazy
clear-
to think. Growing
which is
up
clear
Wait,
because
you're-
you
in Columbus,
you're-
Ohio, that with Trestle, I never wore a sweater vest.
But you
once-
never wore one with the Insane Clown Posse back in the day?
We never wore one. Maybe the Dead Schembeckers. I'm sure someone had a sweater vest on at some point. Yeah.
All right, you guys ready to hit this?
Really?
I gotta get dressed, Josh.
Oh.
I was going to say it's like audio, so it doesn't matter, but for some reason Maggie's got video on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 50th.
This
Yep.
is the 50th.
That's big.
This
Yeah,
is a
it's
big
50.
deal.
And also, it's going to be, if Kip and I do a good job, the rumblings are going to be like, maybe ratings went up with the guest hosts. You know how that goes. Then it gets
Just
a little...
put it in your mind,
Yeah.
spin-off as opposed to replacement. You'll accept spin-offs.
You guys can be the Laverne and Shirley of UA podcast.
Or Joni Loves Chachi.
All right.
She's not doing
So we'll stop and sit back and be guests, and I'm going to turn it back to our guest hosts.
Oh, we should explain if you haven't listened. Colin was like one of our very first guests.
Yeah.
Like if you just came
Episode
recently.
like 5 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah, like he's very early on in first season, and obviously is our theme song. That's why he's selected. And Kip, I don't know why we picked him.
I can't.
And obviously, I went early because no one really thought this thing was going past 10 episodes. So I knew it was important to get in there. But it can go.
And that's in your part of what put us over the top.
I mean,
I'm
what
convinced.
do you think the over/under was when you guys started this? How many episodes? 50 is a big number. And I don't want
6.
to. Down at the coffee shop, the over/under was 12. But just not that it matters. Not that anyone was betting on this. Are you guys pretty surprised you got to 50?
Well, clearly I know where not to go get my betting tips from, which is down at the coffee shop.
Don't get them down there.
No, I never thought we would have gotten to 50. I thought we would have petered out and people would have gotten tired of us and we would have struggled to find interesting people to talk to. But we keep finding interesting people to talk to until today.
Because they're talking to us.
Yes,
Not
exactly.
because they're not interested.
Yeah, right. That's what I meant.
Yeah. All right, you guys are in charge.
Yeah, Kip, you want to hit Steve up with some questions here?
Well, I've been waiting for this opportunity, but Steve, you've got a real obsession with April Fool's Day,
I do.
and I'd like you to explain it to us. Now, I have to confess to you, I did go online and I've done some research about people who have obsession with April Fool's Day,
Uh-oh.
and it's not good. So I'd like you to explain yourself to this community about this obsession with April Fool's Day.
So first of all, it really is funny.
I love that this is the first question. Like,
It
hit 'em hard.
is really funny to see. I feel like I am back in like my junior year in high school, and I've done something stupid, which I did a few of in high school. Not too many, but a few. And my principal is looking at me and going, "Mr. Shoney, what were you thinking?" So, but here's the so it started in April of 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, and everybody was miserable. Nobody could find toilet paper, and so I thought, just because we can and people needed something to realize that you can find humor in almost any situation, we put out a post about the City of UA's Toilet Paper Protection Act, the TPPA.
Because all good acts need that.
Yeah,
initials.
you need a good acronym, and it got pretty good reviews. I had one person who responded on Facebook saying that I was not taking the world's dire situation serious enough, which told me that I was right, that someone actually thought had that opinion. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm on to something. And then it just kind of grew from there, and it gives me an outlet for all the crazy stuff that I want to say to people sometimes in this job, and it gives me the opportunity to say that without getting fired.
Famous last words.
Yeah. I do have a couple that I've always that, like, when I'm getting close to retirement, there are a couple that may go out that I'm like, okay, will this one get them to actually fire me? But I'm holding on those. I'm not going to tell you what those are.
So this is full admission time. I am the worst, like, check on jokes. Like, hey, do you think this is cool to do? And I'm always like, yeah, that's funny, and it's going to get us both fired. But, like, I know this one Steve's talking about, and even I was like, let's save those for year 35.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's the April Fool's story.
Well, the research does show a correlation between this obsession with April Fools and dead worms in people's brains.
I am not planning to enter the presidential race. I can guarantee you that.
Well, how do the two of you work together when, Darren, you claim to have graduated from Harvard Law School, and Steve claims to have graduated from the Harvard on the Hocking? How does that work?
I will say, I don't know how it works. Maybe someone would say it doesn't. But I will say this. I do have a dispute about the Harvard on the Hocking thing because I grew up in Oxford, where Miami is. And Miami says they are, like, the Harvard of the Midwest. So, like, I know there's a rivalry there, but, like, they both claim to be the same branding. I know you have strong opinions yourself.
I mean, we think down at OU that alliteration makes the world go round. So if we've got the alliteration, we must have the superior outcome. So that's what we're hanging our hat on. I think, that may be the only thing we have to hang. That and a beautiful campus that's a lot of fun. You know, we'll take alliteration, beautiful campus, great professors, great community, a lot of fun. You know, Miami, you can go do whatever you need to do. I do have to say, shout out to superfan Holly DeBelco-Shoney. She was on our last episode, and Darren tried to bond with her over the fact that they're both townies. Holly's an Athens townie, and,
Yes.
and Darren's an Oxford townie. And she, I've seen people maybe experienced being kind of shot down in that fashion by Holly. It was really nice to see somebody else shot down with a very dismissive no.
No, that's not
No.
happening.
No, we're not bonding over our townie status.
So you mentioned this whole Harvard thing, and I don't like to play it up, Kip. I try to keep it back burner, but I have one story on it. When I was a intern at the Butler County Prosecutor's Office, I told my prosecutor, the chief prosecutor, that I was transferring to Harvard, and he looked at me and he said, "Dumbest guy I ever knew went to Harvard." And that's all he said. And I said, "Thank you, sir," and I walked out. So I've never really wanted to play that up because it didn't get me anywhere.
That's so mean.
I don't know what it changed my life. I still remember it.
Yeah.
Probably not going to get you anywhere in Athens, Ohio, either.
No,
They probably
no.
anything like, fancy guy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Darren, could you explain to me what this Harvard grad, what it means to say alliteration?
Alliteration or alliteration?
I think it's alliteration, but
Did I-
you know,
Say- You go to Harvard.
Did I say alliteration?
it's like ill communication.
I think so.
I thought I said alliteration.
Maybe we're gonna find out. We
Well,
got video.
we have
So
audio
I
replay.
am. Okay. Anyway,
We've got tough interviewers. Not only are they asking hard hitting questions, but they are smart enough to call.
and they're
us
like
on stuff.
fact checking us.
Yeah, it's like very uncomfortable.
You guys need to
I
go to
thought
work.
we
You guys
agreed
need to
to
go
the-
to work for CNN or
Yeah,
something.
We agreed to the debate where our mics would be turned off and we were
and
not
there
going
would be no fact checking.
Yeah.
We were told there would be no fact checking.
It's always unseasonably warm in here. As well.
is.
And I got a sweater on. This was a bad decision.
You're the one who wanted to put sweater on.
This is a bad decision.
Next question.
All right, this is a question for Darren. Rumor is around town that you have a Lego room in your house that your daughter is not allowed in. What is this all about? Is this some kind of panic room? What's happening here with the secret Lego room that people want to know?
There is a Lego room in my house.
All
And so my wife and I guess the word is collect. We have a lot of Legos, and some of them are built, some of them are still in the box. But there are Legos, more, my Legos. So when we had a daughter, everyone's like, "Oh, this is going to be great. She can go play with all these Legos." I'm like, no, it took me like 17 hours to build that thing. She is not getting anywhere near it. So she is not allowed to play with anything in the Lego room. It's got like the Disney castle and the train and a lot of Jurassic Park sets. I don't want her breaking anything. So she gets her own Legos, not in the Lego room.
So
So
it's
she can't even play with her. Sorry.
I was saying it's kind of like a whole new take on like sharing with toys and stuff.
Have
You're
you-
kind of bringing like a Harvard kind of mentality to that.
I mean, have you seen the Lego movie? Probably not. But
It's been a while, but yeah, I saw it.
the whole concept was there was a dad who would like super glue all the stuff together, and I kind of like that guy. Like, don't break all this stuff that I built. And I don't want to minimize how cool the Lego room is. It's got built-in custom like shelving display building systems like on the walls. Like, it's not just a table. This is like a room that was in my house up in Delaware when I moved here. I was like, I will only come to Upper Arlington because Kip offered me the job. I said, I'll come and I'll move here if I can get this Lego room kind of out and transported. And they did it.
Who's the NBA player that, like, you see the Instagram post with all the Legos?
Oh, I don't know. I know you're talking about.
Oh, I saw that too, but I don't remember his name.
See, I'm trying to make you
me cool.
cooler. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not particularly cool, but it does look cool in the room when you see all the Legos in there.
Okay.
I bet. Do you have like a security pad on it and stuff and a camera if anyone goes in there? Like right now, if
Do you have
someone walked in
retinal
the
scan
Lego
for it?
room, would you like your phone alert you that someone's in the Lego room?
I know I should probably invest in that. My brother and his family came to visit, and I was working while they were at the house, and they kept sending me pictures, and they had brought Parker, that's my daughter, into the Lego room, and she's like bashing the stuff together. I'm like, get her out of there! But I was working, so I couldn't.
Like while you were on Zoom calls?
Like, this is like while I'm here at work.
Oh, while you were here.
I'm here at the office, and they're texting me pictures at the house
Oh.
of her in the Lego room, and I was like having moments.
Like a hostage thing.
It was like, come back or you're going to destroy your Lego T-Rex. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm back to the psychological profile here, Steve. You got to talk with us about this whole obsession you have with Toronto.
Actually, I would like to know that too.
So, again, we just covered this in our last podcast a little bit. So, I spent calendar year 2000 in Toronto working for the state of Ohio. That's too long a story to get into this, unless people want to listen to this at 11:30 at night while they're trying to sleep. But literally crossed the border on Y2K, fastest border crossing you'll ever have, because I was the only person crazy enough to think to do that. And lived up there for a year. And it's just a great city. It's a city that half the residents are immigrants. So you have this huge kind of melting pot effect that has an amazing impact on the food scene and festivals and all those kinds of things. And as Holly said on the last podcast, it also was a time in our lives where she was working on her dissertation. I had this really cool job. We were in this fantastic cosmopolitan city, and we were able to really take advantage of it. So that, and it's Canadian, so it's a little bit nicer. It's a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit cooler and more laid back. So, yeah.
All right, that's interesting. All right, a question.
That's a very Canadian answer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very Canadian. Not.
All right, question for both you guys. All right, here we are. We're living in UA. You guys are accomplished people. It's a beautiful town to live in. Everything's amazing. But when you were 18, where did you think you were going to? What was you graduated high school? You probably weren't thinking one day I'm going to have a serious job in a really nice suburb in Ohio. When you were 18, what were you thinking you'd end up at, maybe as your pipe dream down the road, if you could just draw up anything with a magic wand? What was going through your mind the day after high school graduation that might have been a little different than hosting your own podcast on its 50th episode, wearing sweaters?
This is going to sound weird, and this is not a cool, interesting answer, because I was not super cool and interesting. I was like kind of a geeky student guy, but I always wanted to get my master's in public administration and go in like city government. And I didn't. I got into law school.
You pulled it off, kind of.
I did, but I applied when I was in college. I applied to both master's programs and law school, and I didn't get into master's programs, and I got into law school, so it changed my career. But I was always like, yeah, this city government's cool. I even met with the Oxford city manager when I was in high school to figure out what he did. Like, I wanted to be Steve. It was kind of a dorky answer.
I can see why you're a psychic now. You really dreamed. You're living your dream right now.
I'm living my dream life being next to Steve.
I thought you were going to say at the NBA or an astronaut or something. But this is it. All right.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Or I wanted to be a roadie for the Insane Clown Posse. That was the other option.
That could definitely be a good job.
Okay, so in high school, your dream job was to... Okay.
I mean...
That's great. That's awesome. That makes me feel really, really good.
Your answer is going to be better than mine,
the better thing is, I couldn't get into public administration schools, so I just, went to Michigan Law and then transferred to Harvard because I couldn't get into public administration schools.
I mean, it's weird, isn't it?
That's the piece that I'm really, really struggling with. I mean, I guess it's.
I still have my rejection letter from the Woodrow Wilson School of Government.
Now I understand why the American legal system is where it is. This all came into everything. It's like the Matrix just kind of
those who
resolved.
can city manage and those who can't go to law school. No offense to the law school people out there.
Yeah, no.
I never told you that story, Steve.
No, you had never told me that. My mind is completely. I'm spinning right now. So my kind of I don't know coming out of high school, but I wanted to be like working in the foreign service, working my way up to be an ambassador somewhere or something like that. And so often I'll talk about when I talk to student groups, I'll be like, look, I went from having a degree in international security and economic policy to managing a city. There is a logic to how that path happened, but it is not a straight line path. And, you just make sure you get trained in the ability to think and then find ways to apply it.
All right.
I mean, granted, being city government is not the super coolest answer, but you were basically city government in other countries. So you kind of gave the same answer.
But literally, I remember being so I went to grad school at the University of Maryland School of Public Affairs, and was in there with you could get your degree with either an international focus or or a domestic focus. And like there were guys and women doing like city manager training, and I thought while I was in grad school, I was like, oh man, no way, nope. The budgeting classes, oh man, that's so painful. And here I am, and I love it.
I mean, this is how.
Well, I don't know that I love the budget.
If you want to know how much of a geek I was, like in 6th grade, we did do a career day where you dress up as wherever you wanted. You know, people were coming in their cool costumes, and I brought a briefcase, and I said at that point, I did want to be a lawyer. So career day, I was a dorky kid with this briefcase. So, yeah, not super good answers.
Not even like own your own Lego store.
No, it was nothing.
So that was, you're saying that was just career day?
I did not bring a briefcase every day, no.
I was going to say, Your Honor, I'd like to point to exhibit.
No, the dorkiness wasn't just career day, but the briefcase was just career day.
Just checking.
You know, and I feel as long as Kip Greenhill sitting right here next to me on my left, I got to ask Kip, watching these guys now, they're doing the city government. What jumps to your mind? What's your fondest memory from the time when you were serving this city so admirably?
Well, this is with no exaggeration. I'd have to say my time in leadership on council and having the opportunity to work with Darren and Steve really was one of the highlights of my professional career. We had fun, we disagreed, we challenged each other, but it was some of the most fulfilling work I've ever done because of these two.
Yeah.
Thursdays were a real joy, and that's when we always met.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to suck up to them because they're not the hosts today. We're the hosts. So that's a nice answer.
And yet we're still going to suck up to you, even though you're not technically our boss anymore. So,
Yeah.
Although every good host does try and put his guest at ease, and then you can kind of come back and smack him around once you have him at ease.
And one more question for Kip, as long as he's right here and I haven't seen him. What are you up to these days? What's Kip Greenhill doing for fun now that you're out of the limelight?
Well, we're doing a lot of traveling. We went to France last fall. We're going to Portugal this fall. We spent a lot of time horseback riding in Colorado. We've gone there several times. So, no, we're staying busy.
Probably getting ready for a big Brown season. Browns, we obviously like the Browns more than the Bengals on this side of the table.
Just thinking of the Browns.
All
but
right.
we also have 17 grandchildren, and that keeps us very busy.
That would do it.
Well, Kip does also spend time getting awards like the Heart of UA award that he got this past spring. So I don't want to let this go by without.
And weren't you the Grand Marshal in a parade?
Back in 1974, that was.
Okay. I mean, you've got some accolades
that
here.
long.
Yeah.
You're a heavy hitter here. Kip.
Yeah. Well, thank you, though.
All right. This is the one you guys ask everybody, and I guess we'll start with Darren. What do you love about UA?
Okay, the one-word answer is this podcast, although that was 2. But I want to explain that answer. So what I really love about UA is, I don't want to say something trite like the community, but the people who live in UA are an amazing group of people that, we have this brain power that can help us on our boards and commissions, and people who come with great ideas for legislation or changes. And frankly, the people who we've gotten to meet through the podcast have all been amazing people. Like, I didn't know you before we met, Colin. Then I found about the Insane Clown Posse, and my brain has been forever.
Who knew? Someone up Arlington toured with the Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, and there's countless people such as yourself who just have something that I just had no idea to learn about, or they're, for lack of a better word, somewhat famous or known. It's just kind of cool. So the community and the people that this podcast has allowed me to meet and interact with has been great. And also, I really had struggles moving here in 2020 with. We talked about this. It was COVID. No one's getting out, and I'm new, and there's some controversial issues going on. And this has allowed me to introduce myself to the community, as people can see. We're real people. We have fun, and I've told this before, but people have called angry about something, and they're like, "Oh, you're Darren from the podcast. Oh, you're all right." And then that tense situation actually is easier to deal with. So this podcast isn't great, both in terms of meeting the wonderful people in UA and also introducing myself. So I would say the podcast is most favorite thing, and that means 50 more episodes, Steve.
That would be great if you could book a guest.
We should decide if I get Kip or not, because I did ask
No,
him.
because he's the host.
Oh, he's not a guest.
He's not a guest.
Oh, you're using a loophole on me. All right,
Yeah.
I have to accept that.
Yeah. Jiminy Christmas. So what do I love? A couple things. One is living here and having our kids be part of this community, and now having our kids have cycled through the school system. but still watching how this place kind of has those relationships that the kids build has this tractor beam effect on them. And I kind of got it as I watched other people's kids kind of progress. But there is something about this place that I think helps to build relationships among young people that is different. I can't put a finger on it. I don't know what it is. But, Colin, we got to be really good friends through the kids. Mm-hmm. And Owen and Jeffrey still hang out. 4th of July is a great example. So all of a sudden I've got these 8 20-year-olds invading my home, eating all my food for a day on July 4th. And as annoyed as I was at them that I had to go back out and get more food, the fact that you have this group of friends who have these things that bring them back together on a regular basis, those things in the community, that it really is one of the things that I do love about this community.
What is your snack food kind of stash of choice? Like, is it worth me swinging by and just seeing if I can help myself?
So no, well, the problem was that, if you have a group of young men in their early 20s who show up at your house around 6 o'clock, around 5:30 or 6 o'clock on the 4th of July, and you've just taken a smoked pork shoulder off of the smoker, you need to hide it.
So you're going elevated. We're not even talking about
No,
Doritos
it's
here.
like no. I had just pulled a very lovely pork shoulder that I got at Littleton's and smoked all day off the smoker, and in walk these guys who've been running around seeing all their other friends all day long, and they descended upon that like a pack of hyenas.
Yeah, Steve throws a fine driveway party, but it's built for about 8 to 10.
Yeah,
and not 25. Which
and
once the word got out.
Colin saw the aftermath of that
Yeah.
because he was there. So
Yeah.
He sees like the bones and the
But you live and you
carcasses.
learn. It's another chapter to grow as a parent.
Yeah,
You realize
so-
you need to hide the food from your kids.
Well,
on the 4th
and
of July.
next year I will have a lower level option.
Yeah, your failure was not having like a big thing of hot dogs just sitting there.
Well, no, I need my smoker's big enough. I could have stuck 2 chickens on there and just be like, here, guys, take the chicken while we eat all the really good stuff. So
Here, have these burgers I made for you. They're great. Oh, yeah. You would
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah,
Rookie move.
I know.
you learn.
Yeah.
Next stage. All right, Darren? What would you change about UA?
All right, so going back to dorky, high school, wanting to be in city government, Darren.
Seems like a theme
Yes.
that's going here.
One of the things I wanted to go into government to do was to be able to make change in my community. And so one of the things I like about my current position and working with Upper Arlington is like, if there's something I don't like about Upper Arlington, I actually can help fix it in a very real way. So we've joked about the golf carts before. Well, last year I was driving around 4th of July and I had some near misses with some dangerously driven golf carts. And I said, there ought to be a law. And I was like, oh, wait, that's me. So we fixed the situation. That's a really silly example, but anything that we want to improve, we can, I can't do it myself, but with our team I can. So that's a cop-out answer, but I will say I'm very disappointed in the lack of basketball courts in Upper Arlington. So when the community center is built.
Just for you, I'm going to fix that.
Yes. So Steve is working on fixing my main problem, and
Yep.
I like to play basketball. I will play anytime. I am not good. So, but invite me to your game, I'll be there.
But you're sneaky good. It's
all hustle.
It's all well, yeah. You're sneaky good. You're sneaky athletic, and you've got that whole. You guys remember the movie Along Came Polly?
Yeah.
The basketball scene.
Oh, yeah.
Where the guy's playing shirtless and Ben, I think it's Ben Stiller's
Teeing up.
character has to guard him.
Yeah.
And the guy's maybe a little on the hairy side, a little on the sweaty side.
It gets a full face in him.
I'm not saying that's Darren, but I'm not saying that's not Darren.
All right, I got you.
Self-defense, man.
As long as we're right here and I'm sitting here and you are the city attorney, maybe you've covered this before, but what is the golf cart policy in UA right now? This gets brought up at the coffee shop pretty often.
Yeah, so it used to be, in the dark ages of 2 years ago, there was kind of a, grace period of sorts where you can kind of do whatever you want with golf carts around the 4th of July. And That
We,
wasn't
we would colloquially refer to it as the Hamsterdam period for the fans of The Wire.
Oh, yeah.
So it was
Solid strategy.
We would
Yeah.
refer to it as golf cart Hamsterdam.
Yeah, okay.
So we kind of realized that probably wasn't the best way to approach things. So you still can drive a golf cart, but it has to be basically inspected and for lack of a better word, street legal. So I've noticed there's a lot of golf carts that are almost car-like. They've got a license plate, they've got seat belts, they've got lights, and that's okay, but it's got to basically be street legal, license plate. So you can't just get a literal golf cart and drive around town. So this year, I think we announced this last week, we didn't have any citations. It's perfect. Everyone's safe. And
our guys were out looking for it, and they did not see folks. They only had a couple things where folks were behaving badly, and they kind of corrected the behavior, and it was taken care of.
So 8-year-olds aren't allowed to drive golf carts around at 3 in the morning anymore?
Not anymore.
Okay,
no.
I just want to be clear. Okay.
Not a best practice.
All right, got it. Okay.
No. Still can't drink and drive with a golf cart.
So be clear. We know it. Okay.
Yeah.
Steve, what would you change about UA?
So I remember when I did my interview for the job with Kip and the rest of council, they asked me a similar kind of question, what's our biggest challenge? And I said at the time, it was our lack of diversity. And I still think that is one of our biggest challenges. The thing that we try and focus on that is kind of a corollary to that, it's both a result of our lack of diversity, and it keeps our, it makes some people feel uncomfortable coming here, is our reputation. So Upper Arlington is not the same Upper Arlington it was 50 years ago. There were policies in this community as recent as 50 years ago that were explicitly discriminatory. You don't just remove those things from the books and everything goes back to like nothing ever happened. So that stuff takes time to overcome. And it's something that we have to keep working on, and we have to keep, talking about how Upper Arlington is not all one kind of people who all think one kind of way, and is very stuffy. And that's honestly, part of the reason that Darren and I, and honestly everybody that works in our senior leadership team, tries to be really authentic, is because we think it's a pretty darn good place, and we think we've got a really good team, and we've got really good community members and really good leadership. And so if we're authentic about who we really are, then that's a big part of, and maybe even the best way to send the message to the world that we think Upper Arlington is a great place, and we want everybody to be part of it.
That's good answer. Kip, as long as you're sitting right here, you've been part of this community for so long. How does it make you feel to hear Steve say that? How far do you think UA has come in your time from when you first started and worked in the schools? And do you feel proud about the progress that's been made around town?
It's turning the clock back when I first came here over 30 years ago and looking where UA is now. I would never believe the progress that has been made here. And as Steve said, we've got a ways to go yet. But I think this community can really be proud of how it has held up a mirror, taken a look at itself, and this community is moving in the right direction, and doing it without a lot of the conflict we have seen going on throughout our country when a lot of these issues have been brought up. I couldn't be more proud of Upper Arlington, but I'd also have to say these two men have made a big difference in their leadership.
I'm relatively new here. I started in March of last year, so I'm not incredibly knowledgeable about how the culture and everything has changed since Steve and Darren have gotten in, and I'd love to hear more about the past couple of years and how UA is blossoming.
I mean, I'd see people every day, obviously, at the coffee shop, and I think things have definitely, the city, since I started, we moved here 18 years ago. We started living here. And I remember, the first time I saw like a progressive, like a John Kerry sign was like a big deal. And I'm not saying anyone has to be Republican or Democrat. I'm not being judgmental. But I remember that was like shocking to even see that. And then obviously, the UA is now, as Columbus has grown, we're more of, there's more musicians, there's more people like that living in UA. It's become that place. And I think, for a while, social media kind of rocked everyone, and with Facebook, and you'd see a lot of nasty discourse on there and this and that. But it seems like things have really calmed down, and and obviously with the leadership, and it seems like people are being way more respectful of each other. At least at the coffee shop, that's never been an issue, because I think we all agree when people talk face to face, you can agree with people on all sorts of things. There's all kind of people in the coffee shop that are completely all over the political spectrum. Trust me, I mean everywhere. But it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? I think UA's moved to a spot where people are being less judgmental of people that are different than them, because they're being exposed to people that are, maybe a little more different walks of life. And I think that's only going to gather momentum and hopefully just keep moving in the right direction. And to what Kip said, I think we have avoided some of the conflicts, and I don't exactly know why that's happened, but it seems like the community's in a pretty good spot. Obviously we're coming to an election year. Everyone's going to be heated. There's going to be crazy talk. But it feels like, to me, people are being more civil with each other than they have in the past. And, famous last words, but that's my sense on where UA is right now. And it seems to be in a good spot. So I'll turn over to Kip on that.
Well, I'm going to go back to the leadership part of it. Why I'm so proud of where Upper Arlington is. I think Upper Arlington, and it goes back to a lot of the leadership that Steve has provided and also Darren, it's the community engagement. I think on every major decision now made in this city, people have the opportunity for their voice to be heard, and that's huge. That may sound simplistic, but it doesn't happen everywhere. And I think that's why there's a lot of frustration that comes out in anger in communities. But people here, our city, as I said, sets the gold standard, whether it be building a community center or what happens in parks, even with what we're doing with a baby pool at one of our pools. We set the gold standard for engagement.
I want to go back to kind of what you mentioned earlier about council meetings are long, and we were kind of joking about what we're doing. But if you come to a council meeting and you say something to your city council, they will listen. Like, that's one thing I like about this town. Like, they will listen, and they will. You don't always get what you're asking for, but they will listen. Staff, we're listening. Again, I can't promise that we can do everything that everybody wants, but they're not just making up their decision before they walk in there, letting people talk because they have to, and they're not. I mean, the reason we're engaging is because we want to hear you. And I think, to Kip's point, like, the volume is high, but also, like, we are actually listening to what you're saying, and I think people should know that. But I think it's great because we get a better result when we take actual input from people, because we don't know everything. I mean, I know most everything.
Yeah. So, and part of, thank you for the compliments. I think part of, I do want to give some kind of credit where credit's due to two people. One is you, Kip, for kind of very intentionally saying we are not going to continue down this path as it related to kind of conflict between council and the community that kind of devolved to a place that just wasn't healthy. And I think you just simply said, we're just not going to do that anymore. We're not. That's not who we are. That's not who we're going to be. We're not going to let ourselves get pushed down that path. And through example and force of your words, you change that. I had the great opportunity to work for Michael Coleman at the City of Columbus for several years earlier in my career. And I remember Coleman one time before I went to a community meeting telling me, he's like, do not sugarcoat it. You are doing no one a favor if you go in there and you're not honest. And being not honest sometimes includes, telling somebody, oh, well, maybe there's a chance that'll happen. If there's not a chance it's going to happen, tell them there's not a chance it's going to happen. And I think sometimes that level of directness can be a little bit, you have to find a way to temper it, and it was great to have a good example. Coleman was great at finding that reading the temperature and understanding how hard he could push on something. But people would much rather have you tell them straight up what it is than give them some mealy mouth response that they know there's something else behind it that you're not telling them. And I think that has helped also with kind of changing the way people interact with city government. And they may not like the answer, but they know they're going to get a straight one.
One more thing I have to give credit to both council and city management for is we try to be very transparent. So it's not a black box in terms of legislation's coming out there and something's happening to it and it just goes. So, we're telling people what we're doing, we're explaining why. If there's an amendment, we get the amendment out in advance so people can see. It's not the situation where something just is gifted on the world and it's done. And I think the people who are engaged in certain issues, I think, have appreciated the process that we go through. Some other cities you read papers about, we got put on the agenda 5 minutes beforehand and they just voted on it and no one got to speak. And we try to get people to know about things because we don't want to surprise them. Yeah. I mean, maybe you
No. But speaking of surprising, I have no transition for this, but I thought of something else that I wanted to make sure to ask because people are dying to know the answer to this question. I have actually a couple questions. And this is for Colin.
All right.
One is, how are things going at the shop? I mean,
I was going to ask that too because you
made a big, and then I have a follow-up question after he answers this. You made a big move. The original shop is no more.
Yep.
Your mornings in the Daily Growler.
Daily Growler. I used to stare at one side of McDonald's. Now I stare at the other side of McDonald's right across the street.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. It's been a great fit. They're a small business like myself. They had the idea a few years ago, hey, we should share space. But most people, who wants to move till they have to? Eventually I had to move. So I'm like, hey, you guys still looking for a roommate? So we moved in there. We're open every day till noon. And then the signs switch over. We clear out of there. We're like the roommate that sleeps on the sofa. We just kind of tidy up after ourselves and take the trash out and do the dishes and leave. But it's been great. And it's also just made it even more of a community hub. It's great space down there. And it's just kind of vibrant with, having the beer at night and the coffee in the morning. And today I left. It's a straight switch at noon. So you can sit in there all day with Wi-Fi and get some coffee. And then we close. So it couldn't have gone better. It's kind of like I was in my big house hoarding all my stuff, my rock and roll book collection at the Golden Bear Center. But, I'm getting older, so I've kind of moved into a condo. It's a good feeling. So it really has worked out. It's been a blessing for sure.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because, we all have talked about Upper Arlington's kind of landlocked. So there's not like terribly amount of new space where you just build a whole new building or whatever. But it's great to be able to make more use of a space that's already being used and make it better for everybody.
Yeah, and I think I would assume there's only going to be more of this going forward because everyone sees it. And it's like, why doesn't this happen more often? Which I don't know why, but it's happening now. It's happening there, and it's been a great fit. The Blakely family. Obviously, we have being both small businesses, we get along very well, and I think it's just been great.
So your loyal devotees, who I know are many because people are always talking about Colin's Coffee, they've figured out where you are and they've followed you over.
Yeah, we're out there on the social media and all that kind of stuff. And I swear every day someone comes in and says it's the first time I've been in here, like they didn't know we moved. But they're finding us, and it's been really rewarding, and it's been great. And to see all the people come over there, because it really is a community spot. It's the customers have created this culture there, and I just kind of serve the coffee and watch it. But it's really fun, and that was the response we got as the Golden Bear Center was going away, because I wasn't sure if I was going to reopen. You're getting older, and it's a lot to run a small business. But the response from the community, and UA's always been super, super supportive of small business. They take pride in that, and I thought, it's not fair. I have to at least give it a shot to go somewhere else because it was so overwhelming how many people showed how much they loved having a local coffee shop. So moving over there, having the opportunity to do it with the Daily Growler and the Blakely family, I'm so glad I did it, and it's really just become such a great little hub for people in UA, and just met so many interesting people. So, like I said.
I'll give a shout out for you. I know people are like, well, is there conflict between Crimson Cup and Colin's Coffee? And shout out to Greg Hubert, another UA guy, who helped you with the transition.
Greg's amazing. I mean, when we had some downtime between when we were figuring out what we're going to do, I called Greg because in the previous spot we were kind of locked in what we had done, but this was a fresh start. So Greg's, that's his business. I always tell people come talk to me. Hey, I want to start a coffee shop. Can I talk to you? Like, don't talk to me. Talk to Greg. Greg went to Harvard. Greg knows what he's doing. I'm a guy who came off tour opening for the Insane Clown Posse. Literally got handed keys to a coffee shop on 24 hours notice because I had nothing else to do, and I was already working there. That's my experience. Like, so I've learned a lot, but we took some time. We went over to Crimson Cup. We went to barista classes again and went through all that, his whole program, and we've switched a lot of things up. And I mean, it's been such a benefit to us to work with Crimson Cup, and we've really fine-tuned our game, and it's a great asset to have in the community.
So here's the second part of my question. So you made the move, about a year ago?
Yeah,
right?
Last November.
Okay. And before the old shop closed, you did a very lovely, very fun commemorative T-shirt.
Yes.
When's the next T-shirt coming out?
I don't know. We might have to, at some point, get something dialed up. We still found some of the old ones. We were still selling some of the quote-unquote dead bear shirts. Those things are around. So at some point, we got to get a new shirt. So
right.
I
think, I'm hearing rumbling. I keep you hear talk at the shop. Yep. We hear talk around town. We keep our ear to the ground, yep. And I'm feeling the rumblings that are looking for. I think folks are ready for another Colin's T-shirt.
We got something cooking, I think. So it's good to hear. We'll have to fire that up.
Is the goal of the T-shirts, and I do not have one, so I do not know the answer, is the goal to make them sort of like the exclusive collector's item where you might run a limited run, or would you love to sell like thousands of these things and blanket the city?
I'm a rock and roll guy. I want to sell thousands of shirts. I mean, come on, merch? Yeah. But no, we are due for a new shirt. That one was good. So probably in the fall, we'll unveil something to get going.
Great. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on today and doing this. You both know that you're a couple of our favorite people. You do a lot for the community. You've done a lot for the community for years. So I know your reputations will take a hit after doing this, and I appreciate how you're using a little bit of that goodwill you've built up in the community to do this. But thanks for coming on. We are going to have a special bonus at the end of this that Maggie's going to work on with Colin.
Do you want to explain or let
Darren? Darren, I was going to let you explain. Start the explanation of this.
Okay, so I love the theme song. Mm-hmm. I love that you were nice enough to officially license it to us for garbage stickers and all royalties from our show, which you've seen has paid off handsomely. Mm-hmm. But I got my idea that you have so many abilities that would it be possible to get a more original song that was just for our show as opposed to something we licensed? Yeah. Kind of like when Happy Days moved from 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock to the Sunday, Monday Happy Day song. So I wanted our own song. So that was a deep cut.
You like that? Yeah, I didn't realize. I was like, wow, mind blown.
If you think about it,
they did do that.
So I don't have any musical abilities as we've learned and discussed, but I do know how to use AI. Mm-hmm. So I asked AI to write a song for us, mm-hmm. and then I took it, and it was a little weird, so I kind of changed some of the lyrics to make more sense, but I foolishly sent that along to you, which was probably insulting to a real musician, but I was hoping you could do your magic with AI and make us a new theme song.
Yeah, I got the lyrics, got the AI, mostly computer. I guess there's some human in there somewhere, but
very little human that I would claim. But
so we're gonna at the end here. I brought my guitar and I will demo the AI. I wrote some music to the AI lyrics, and we'll demo it, and we'll see if it's something worth pursuing and. Perhaps then we can look into
we'll do
a recording budget. Maybe I think Rick Rubin would be a good producer. We could talk to him, someone like that.
And just don't talk to any sort of entertainment lawyer who will negotiate the terms for you this time, because the last deal was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Just tell me where to sign.
Yeah, my clients.
This is Harvard Law talking right here.
Yeah. Just don't talk to a lawyer. We're good. We got you, man. We're all friends here.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Maggie the Claw McCloskey, thanks for setting this up. Yeah. All right.
Who came up with that? You or Maggie?
No, Maggie said, is it McCloskey or McCloskey? And she said, claw like claw. And I said, oh, there's your nickname, Maggie the Claw.
That's organic
McCloskey.
Enough to pass. Because you can't make up your own nickname.
No, you can't.
That's
no.
That'll be our outro.
Yeah.
I do, although this was very uncomfortable being on the other side of the podcast, I do want to thank Maggie because she was behind the scenes doing this. We didn't know what was going on. They didn't tell us. So you put it together, I hope, a good episode. Thanks, Maggie.
You're welcome. Who would you like to see on the pod between now and the 100th episode, which will happen?
I'll have to think about that. Okay. Geez, I'm thinking down from the... I don't know. That's a good question.
Email submittals are accepted. We'll give you credit during the episode.
Is Tim the roofer a qualified answer? I'm thinking of coffee shop regulars, but
Yes.
I want people who aren't going to get us fired.
that's probably,
okay.
that eliminates half the coffee shop.
Yeah,
regulars.
I think I've met Tim. Tim's a nice guy.
Oh yeah. How about a coffee shop roundtable of all our classic characters?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
We might have to work the dump button, it sounds like.
I think that can be on
Need some
your
editing skills.
that can be on When Joni Met Chachi or whatever.
Yeah, the spinoff. I don't want to put you on the spot, Kip, because I don't know if you actually listen to the podcast, but I think the biggest coup we've had in these first 50 episodes was Brendan King being on, because he did not want to really be the face. He's very behind the scenes and let everyone else shine. But we got him on, and it was a good episode.
So actually, here's what we need everybody's help with. There's one member of council who is very resistant to coming on the podcast.
A surprising member.
It is
Like the most surprising.
It is surprising to me. Jim Lynch.
Really?
That's what I was going to guess.
Jim Lynch is resistant. So
I'll talk to his mom.
if you two, if this makes it on the pod, and any listeners out there want to encourage Jim Lynch to come on the podcast, this may be one of the this is one of those. Is this the right career move to? But yes, it is the right career move to encourage people to encourage.
Because we think he would be great.
We think he would be awesome.
All right, I can do that. His mother Hope's a regular. I'll go right to the boss.
Wait, his mother is a Collins
Hope and Jim.
aficionado?
Oh yeah, she was in there yesterday with the book club. So we'll go right to this. I'll go right to the source and say, Jim should be on this podcast.
I will take it one step further, Colin. I'm going to go rogue here. If he won't do it, we'll take her.
That'd be pretty good.
Actually,
that might be better.
his parents would be
Amazing.
fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
They are really wonderful people.
Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely.
You can get a new title, Chief Booking Agent, because I can't do it.
By the way, you do not get credit for anybody that Colin books.
Yeah,
that is
you're
not.
my deputy booking agent, and I'll take royalties of all your credits.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks so much, guys.
This is good what you do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Colin, it's your bonus track here. This is a demo for a possible new theme song to the podcast the next season. And these lyrics were generated by AI and passed on to me from Darren. So I will be writing music to some AI-generated lyrics. And let's see what we got. Here we go. I'm just a guy in a cozy sweater, living next door to some friendly neighbors. We chat over fences, share stories so sweet, laughing about life as we shuffle our feet. But lately something's been new, a podcast in my ears talking on cue, bringing us closer, sharing in delight, bond over stories throughout the night. We're knit together like a warm sweater, a podcast about neighbors making life better, memories woven, stories we've shared, this close in this community, we're all paired. Sipping teas with friends in the afternoon, recalling old tales like a comforting tune. Each episode brings a spark to our days, igniting conversation in so many ways. Together we learn, together we grow and so the fabric of friendship with stitches so fine, connecting our hearts in this digital shrine. We're knit together like a warm sweater, podcast about neighbors making life better, memories woven, stories we've shared in this closeness community. We're all paired. So here's to the moments, the interviews we hold dear, our cozy red sweaters, together we cheer for neighbors and the podcast and friendship so true. Steve and his sidekick Darren, bringing new episode. See you.
Love can flow whenever love wants to flow. We're not gonna shut down the love. So if you're feeling the love, you can just flow.